Well, here's a story that we're following. New concerns this morning.
You were following this guy?
Very closely, Ryan. Over the well-being of Britney Spears.
That's right. She's back in the headlines after an ambulance was rushed to the iconic hotel in Los Angeles, where the pop star apparently got into a dust-up with her latest love interest.
Chanley Painter is here with the details on it. Chanley, I think we got involved in that family business way too soon.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. A lot of people are following this story, you guys. Reportedly, Britney Spears, she got into a huge fight with her on-again, off-again boyfriend at Hollywood's Chateau Marmont Hotel. And that led to someone calling the police and emergency services. So here you can see the headline from TMZ, which reports the former pop star was dressed in only shorts, wrapped in a blanket outside the luxury hotel after someone called police claiming a woman matching Spears' description was harassing and threatening hotel employees and guests. Officers showed up, saw no signs of trouble, and left. But apparently the couple continued to cause a scene. According to TMZ, Spears was screaming out of control, possibly hurt, so the hotel called paramedics, fearing a mental breakdown. But she left with her security and without her boyfriend, by the way. But the singer now taking to Instagram, writing, quote, "Just to let people know the news is fake. I would like respect at this time for people to understand I am getting stronger every day. I also twisted my ankle last night and paramedics showed up at my door illegally. They never came in my room, but I felt completely harassed." And you guys will recall in 2007 when Spears infamously shaved her head after leaving a rehab facility. And of course, after a 2008 breakdown, she was committed to a psych ward and placed in that conservatorship. So now these new revelations, the social media videos, if you follow her on Instagram, and all of these reports that she's actually blowing through her fortune, apparently, too. These are reigniting concerns for this star, guys.
You know, we just get involved in scandals, put all our opinion into stuff. We're not getting all the
So what
facts.
are you saying when they came out with that documentary that said free Britney?
I mean, Britney may have needed some
Her
help.
dad took control of her checkbook.
Well, I didn't agree with that. I thought it, but now looking at some of the revelations, looks like every week there's something with Britney crying out for more help again. So
I get it. The country's falling apart, and I'm just not as interested in this story as I probably should be.
As Britney.
But okay.
Is she that interested in our lives?
Right.
We seem to be all over ours.
She's been on vacation for a little
This will be a big story on the weekend because you all know that Pete Hegseth is in love with Britney Spears. So we'll follow up.
Well,
on
and
this.
you do your pop culture thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna
do that?
We'll cover it.
We'll see.
Cover it.
All right, the 150th Kentucky Derby is here. This year, the winner will take home a special trophy to commemorate the historic run for the Roses.
And our very own Janice Dean is live from Churchill Downs with the family who brought this vision to life.
Yes, hello. We are at Churchill Downs, 150 years of the Kentucky Derby, and we've got Suzanne Blackington Juar and Skyla, her daughter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having us.
Tell me about your family.
So we have been making the trophy since 1975. It's our 50th year. My dad started it, and I trained from his silversmith, and I always dreamed of making it one day, but now to be making it with my husband and now my daughter. So it's this awesome dream come true.
Skyla, what is so special about this trophy?
So this is the first one that I've ever worked in. I feel very special. So it has rubies, it has emeralds, diamonds on it for the anniversary trophy. So probably the most spectacular trophy the Derby's ever seen.
Wow. 6th generation. Tell me about your dad real quick.
My dad passed away in December of 2020, and he passed away from ALS, and he did still talk about the trophy. He wanted to have his say in what it was going to look like. He said, you got to put diamonds in, you got to put rubies in it. So he knew he wasn't going to be here, but he wanted his part. So we hope he's happy with it.
I love it. It is a spectacular trophy. Thank you both for being here. The Blackington family has been designing this trophy for many decades, and it's going to be a wonderful year. Thank you both, ladies. All right. It is the 150th Derby, and today is the Kentucky Oaks. It's pouring rain, but we are still going to have a great time. Back to you.
All right, you predicted it, and you are dry.
That's right.
So that's why she's
hat.
ready.
Thanks,
So
Jen.
That's true.
That's helping.
Rachel,
All right.
what's next?
All right, Americans are feeling pinched by inflation still. A new poll showing it's their top financial concern.
Now.
All right, it's 7 a.m. on the East Coast on Friday, May 3rd. This is Fox and Friends. Drowning out the protesters, students across the country making it clear they're over the anti-America sentiment.
All right, and coming up short, inflation is America's top economic concern again. Ainsley is talking to South Carolina voters about the rising cost of everything as we approach the November election.
And then get your hat ready. It's Kentucky Derby weekend. And Janice Dean, there she is, live from Churchill Downs with that preview.
It's a busy Friday morning. This is the second hour of Fox and Friends. It's about to start right now. Remember, mornings are better with friends. Buckle up, Fox News alert right now. The NYPD are surrounding an encampment at NYU as crews dismantled their tents. It's the latest major show of force by law enforcement as the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas protests persist in New York City and across the nation.
And you can see those live pictures right now. Molly Line is there with more on this.
You are looking live right now at what is soon to be the former encampment here at NYU. Take a look. This is the protesters. This is what's left. This is the cleanup that's underway. Tyler, if you could just put pen right over here, we can see what they're working on. They're already working on cleanup. It was about an hour ago that the NYPD strategic response pulled up with a number of buses. They moved in swiftly. They did give warnings to the protesters that remained here on site, telling them that they weren't allowed to be here, that it was time to leave, and that if there was an additional effort to push back against arrest, that there could potentially face additional charges beyond the arrest for the protest activity that was happening here. We believe that those folks have already been pushed all the way to the back of this protest and appear to have left the scene here. There are some additional folks that have arrived here essentially to support the protesters that were being taken away. Some individuals that have been chanting some of the slogans that we've heard throughout this: Intifada, revolution, there is only one solution. Some of those more disturbing chants still happening on the far side of this alleyway outside of the Paulson Center at NYU. But the cleanup well underway. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Molly Line. Meanwhile, Jewish students still feeling the fallout from those violent protests at UCLA. This shocking video showing a brutal attack on one pro-Israeli activist at the campus rally on Sunday. Watch. Mother Ruth, who witnessed the attack, both join us now. Thank y'all so much for joining the program. Eleanor, can you tell us what happened? Did anyone come to the defense of this young lady?
So during the incident and when everything happened, at the time, the only people that were available to assist me were the people around me, my family, friends, and the other Jewish people that were there to express their positivity for Israel.
When you saw your daughter,
no police.
Yeah. It's okay.
No police, no paramedics were around to come and assist.
Ma'am, when you see this happening to your daughter, what goes through your mind? Did you expect for Jewish students to be experiencing this in the 21st century?
No, not at all. That's not what we expected the world to come to. We went through a lot. I was a refugee from Iran, and I was raised in Israel, and I moved to this great country for me and my children. My children were born here to have a better future, freedom. I was sure that we are a little bit more tolerant, and there is no such a hate to this extent that we experience. I think it's shocking. I'm every day finding myself more surprised with the extent of the hate towards Jews all over. Although I must say there's also a lot of loving people, but this expressive hate, I don't know. I'm lost for words because it's just criminal. You know what? You don't like us, that's okay, but you cannot chant all day long death to the Jews.
It's sad that there's even a suggestion for you to change. Eleanor, do you feel campus leaders, the president, the people that are in power are doing enough to address this issue of anti-Semitism and hate?
Honestly, not at all. I do believe that I have seen and heard about more professors, school leaders, valedictorians being chosen that are all pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas. I haven't seen much that are being chosen that are pro-Israel. I haven't seen schools making sure that the students are heard super loud and super clear and let them be their full, proud selves without feeling scared.
Yeah. It's sad that we're having to deal with this. You stay safe on campus. Ruth, you're a strong mother. I know that you have your daughter's back on this issue. Stay in the fight.
Yes.
Thank y'all so much for joining.
Yeah, we are not scared, and we're going to continue because, you know, we have to make sure that we are safe and our children are safe and can make their voice sound and proud.
Listen, Ruth, I don't expect anything less from an Iranian Jew. You guys know the true fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So former President Trump is due back in court this morning for day 11 of the New York versus Trump trial. Eric Shawn is live at the New York State Supreme Court with the details. Hey, Eric.
Good morning, Lawrence and everybody. Pay with a check. That the instruction from former President Donald Trump to Michael Cohen in order to seal the deal with former Playboy playmate Karen McDougal. Yesterday here in court at Manhattan Criminal Court, the jurors heard that with their own words. The revelation, part of a meeting in Trump Tower that Trump had with Michael Cohen, in which Cohen secretly recorded their conversation on his iPhone's voice memo app. Prosecutors are trying to show that Trump was deeply involved in the alleged cover-up to quiet McDougal and Stormy Daniels, so their claims of their affairs with him would not hurt his 2016 presidential campaign.
I spoke to Alan about it when it comes time for the financing, which will be...
Listen, what financing?
We'll have to pay you. So
I'll pay for cash.
No. I got... No.
But the defense can claim it. Nowhere on the recording is heard talking about connecting the payment to helping his presidential race or falsely listing the money as legal fees. That's the basis of the 34 counts of filing false business records against him. And you can hear him say, pay with a check. Checks, of course, can be easily traced. The recordings are the first time the jury heard from the former president's own words about the deal, and some of the jurors appeared riveted at what they heard. After court, the former president continued to trash this trial.
There's never been any abuse like this before. This conflicted judge ought to get out of this case. He should not be having this case. He gives us nothing. It's such a rigged court.
Well, he's also denying that he is falling asleep in court. You've heard those reports for a couple of weeks now. The former president says no, he is not taking a snooze at the defense table. He says he's closing his eyes as he listens to the testimony intently. Lawrence and guys, back to you. Thanks, Eric.
All right, well, the most important financial problems facing the U.S. right now is inflation. Look at this, 41%, this is what Americans say, 41% of them say inflation is their top concern. Housing costs next. A lot of young people, by the way, worried about housing costs and not being able to launch in life. Debt is at 8%, healthcare costs, and then low wages. I don't see anywhere in there Trump's problems and legal troubles on the list, guys.
President Biden was speaking yesterday, and he focused in North Carolina all about the economy. He continues to say, my economy is my sales tool. It's unbelievable. He doesn't use the term Bidenomics, but he continues to hammer people on how good his economy is. When you look inside the numbers, they're low, but they're mostly government jobs and part-time jobs. And inflation has not come down. Therefore, interest rates is not coming down.
We've had
Go ahead, guy.
3 consecutive months of worse than expected inflation. So it seems like this problem, which is already very elevated, picking up steam again. And when you see numbers like we put on the screen from Gallup there, it's not even close. Inflation #1 on the list of concerns. I think back to David Axelrod, Obama's guru, saying it is malpractice for this president and his team to be bragging this way. It angers people.
So one of the things that are frustrating Americans is they have so much credit card debt because they were, because of inflation, they're spending money that's essentially not theirs. So Capital One did a survey, and they said 77% of Americans in this report feel anxious about their financial situation. Then they said 58% feel that their finances are controlling their lives. And then 52% said they have difficulty controlling their money-related worries. So imagine saying things are going great when it comes to the economy when you have Americans feeling this way. This is what's going to defeat him in the next election.
And part of the problem is if you're Joe Biden, you're running against a guy who had the greatest economy in our lifetime, prior to COVID. I mean, he seemed undefeatable.
And they want to get
of
rid of the Trump tax cuts.
They evaporate in 2025.
Correct.
So one way or another, whoever wins is going to have that, and he wants to make them permanent. But George W. Bush wanted to do that too. 11 minutes now after the hour. Ainsley is in Columbia, South Carolina. We're paying her to have breakfast with all her friends. It's unbelievable. How did you pull this off, Ainsley?
Well, South Carolina loves Fox News. What can I say? Let me talk to these individuals about how inflation's affecting them. And inflation, it's the number one issue for Americans. If you ask them any financial questions, is it housing? Is it paying your bills? It's just inflation overall. How is it affecting you? Tell me your name first.
I'm Matt Cutto.
Okay, Matt, where are you from?
I'm from here.
Okay, how is inflation affecting you?
I mean, anywhere from the dinner table, it's killing me and my family, and then just job-wise, it's a lot harder to find, jobs that are paying the way that they're supposed to because they can't afford the material themselves. So they haven't increased the prices of everything that they sell just so that they can break even.
Well, it's really affecting you because you ended up being laid off as a result of it, right? Truck driver, Lawrence will appreciate that. Lawrence's dad brings in his income as a truck driver too, and you were laid off. You were a truck driver for Budweiser.
Well, I worked for them for a little while, and then I left there and went to another
company,
another driving company for a building supply company.
Okay, have you been able to find another job?
I'm going to start working with the rail industry in a few weeks.
Okay, I hear Joe Biden drives 18-wheelers.
Well, we're going to try to keep him out of there. If you can't drive a bike, we don't want you behind an 18-wheeler.
Thank you so much. And what's your name, sir?
My name's Addison Reilly. I'm from Springdale, South Carolina.
Okay, great. Thanks for driving this far to be here with us, Addison. How is inflation affecting you? Because you're young and, not making as much money as maybe someone is at, your parents' age.
Well, I'll say this is I see this firsthand because I'm young, is the fact that my parents back at my age had already built a house. They'd already made a name for themselves. And there's me where, I'm still young. I can't afford basic luxuries. I can't even barely even afford to get rent. And it's clearly just this current administration, Joe Biden, causing this. I mean, with the way that inflation has gone up is insanity. I mean, that's why we need President Trump back, as well as here in the state of South Carolina, Congressman Joe Wilson back as well, because these guys know what they're doing. And especially for us young people, where I see it firsthand that this country's going through a great change. It's going to be my generation to fix so many of the problems because so many of us are conservative. So many of us believe in this country. We want to see that happen. We want to be able to live the American dream because they tell us it's been gone, but I refuse to accept that.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, these are real American stories. We've all, if you're not there now, you've been there, and you know how stressful it can be when you can't pay your bills. All right. Back to y'all.
Thanks, Ainsley.
They love you at home.
Yeah, they sure do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
They sure do.
Now here is Rachel with some weather-related news.
That was such an awkward toss.
What was awkward about it? I thought it was smooth.
Super awkward. Try it again smoother.
Thanks, Ainsley. Now let's go to Rachel with more.
It's worse. All right. We're going to turn this. It's worse.
Social media videos.
I tell you, he's throwing the ball up. He just throws it up.
He's smoother at it. Come on. All right, turning now to your headlines. We're going to start with a Fox weather alert. Major damage reported in Texas and Missouri after tornadoes touched down in those states yesterday. The twisters forming as a powerful system swept through the region. And lots of flooding, by the way, in South Texas, with some towns near Houston getting up to 8 inches of rain. One driver failing to realize how high the water had actually risen.
What are you doing? What is this person doing? It's the creek. You're driving into the creek. No. Stop. No. Okay, that got bad very quickly.
All right, that driver was rattled, but we're happy to report that driver made it out unharmed. Portland police are working to hunt down an arsonist who set several fires at law enforcement training center. At least 15 police cars were damaged after 3 fires flared up inside a fenced-in lot early on Thursday morning. The building was not damaged and nobody was hurt. Investigators used accelerant-sniffing dogs to determine that this was an intentional act.
Good morning and welcome back. Here's an eyebrow raiser. A second Boeing whistleblower, now dead after experiencing a brief illness. This comes after Joshua Dean expressed concerns over manufacturing issues with the company's 737 MAX planes. Madeline Rivera is live with the latest on this. Madeline.
Hey, good morning, Guy. Joshua Dean's family says this all happened very quickly. The 45-year-old died Tuesday after an agonizing 2 weeks in critical condition, rather. His aunt tells the Seattle Times Dean started having trouble breathing. He was intubated, got pneumonia, and then MRSA. Before he died, doctors were considering amputating his hands and feet, but he was too weak for surgery. His attorney says Josh's passing is a loss to the aviation community and the flying public. He possessed tremendous courage to stand up for what he felt was true and right and raise quality and safety issues. Dean used to work as a quality inspector for Spirit Aerosystems, a Boeing supplier. He was fired in April 2023. He said it was in retaliation for flagging safety concerns regarding the 737 MAX plane. Dean was mentioned as part of a shareholder lawsuit against Spirit in which he alleged Spirit would throw pizza parties to celebrate a drop in the number of problems. But he said Spirit undercounted the effects instead of actually reducing them. The death of Dean comes just weeks after the death of John Barnett. Barnett was a Boeing whistleblower who local authorities say shot and killed himself March 9th. Barnett was also in the middle of a lawsuit claiming he was wrongfully terminated by Boeing after accusing the company of covering up defects with the 787 Dreamliner. Boeing and Spirit are under a lot of scrutiny after a door panel flew off an Alaska Airlines plane in midair in January. In March, the FAA gave Boeing 90 days to come up with an action plan to fix quality control issues. Brian.
All right, Maddie, thank you. Let's change gears now. Middle East. A historic pact could be on the horizon. The U.S. and Saudi Arabia are reportedly close to a security-related agreement that normalizes Israel-Saudi relations. They recognize each other. The potential deal would amount to a new version of a framework that would be scuttled by the Israeli-Hamas war that was scuttled and could reshape the Middle East. President Trump was on path to doing that. Here to react, Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired four-star General Jack Keane. General, I know on some level many people are surprised they're talking about this. What has to happen first for them to normalize relations?
Yeah, well, first of all, let's just state likely a lot of the reasons for the war in Gaza and for Iran operationalizing all of their proxies in coordination with what Hamas was doing was to break this deal because it was moving towards a very positive solution. And you're right, it was started by the previous administration, the Abraham Accords. But it is quite remarkable that while the war in Gaza is raging, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is still moving in this direction, initially first with the United States and then eventually with Israel itself. The deal with the United States would be a security arrangement similar to what we have with South Korea, Japan, and the Philippines, help them with civilian nuclear power and some kind of an arms deal. In return, Saudi Arabia would normalize relations with Israel. But that would not take place until the war in Gaza ends, and there would have to be some kind of a pathway toward a Palestinian state. Listen, the Arabs want no part of Hamas. There's no future dealing with Hamas. They are completely focused on what the major threat to the region is, Iran. And that is why they want to normalize relations with Israel. Also, there's an economic benefit to doing all of that. But they do want to see some movement towards a Palestinian state. In the same regard, they want no part of the Palestinian Authority leadership that exists in the West Bank. They believe they're corrupt. They've never accomplished anything, and there has to be some fundamental reform here. So there's two pieces have to fall in place. The U.S., Saudi, which is working towards completion, and then Saudi and Israel with the conditions and the realities I just mentioned.
So we're putting massive pressure on Netanyahu to come up with some type of peace deal. Hamas has been walking away, but now they're considering a peace deal. They want a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire. They want no raid on Rafah, obviously, and they want to allow the Palestinians to return to the north. The Israelis say, yeah, we'll give a pause, a temporary ceasefire, but we're still going into Rafah. How much leverage do we have over Israel to take a deal that's not in their interests?
Well, certainly the administration is pushing Israel in that direction, but they've been pretty steadfast here. Sinwar, who is the leader of Hamas in Gaza, he's calling the shots there. And what he really wants is an end to the war. He has not accepted any proposal since the deal was made back in November with the release of the 40 hostages. And because he believes the wind is at his back. He's got growing international condemnation of Israel. He's got the United States openly disagreeing with Israel's war aims and pushing them to a place they really don't want to be. And that's why he's been delayed. Because what he wants to do is survive with his leaders and survive with enough of the Hamas fighters so he can rebuild his organization. He already thinks in his mind that he's achieved a major strategic victory in terms of the political isolation and condemnation of Israel. So he's playing those cards pretty close to his chest. It's not that he wouldn't make a deal if he thought that the temporary ceasefire could lead to a permanent ceasefire. And there is certainly a lot of pressure on Israel for that. The pressure on Netanyahu certainly is, one, get the hostages released. And you can see that mounting pressure has taken place in Israel. And two, make sure he cleans up the rest of Hamas in Rafah. Those are his two pressure points that he's actually dealing with here. And I don't know what's going to happen here because Sinwar has resisted all of these proposals, since November of last year. Well, and we'll see what comes of it. Hopefully there is some kind of temporary ceasefire, Brian, to get as many of these hostages out. Now, the number is a max of 33 because Hamas has told them they don't believe they have any more than 33. They could be lying, obviously, about all of that because they took the hostages right from the beginning for two reasons. One is to protect themselves, the leaders, and two, and use them as leverage to end the war. And I don't think any of that has changed.
And if you leave Sinwar in power and you leave the higher-ups in Hamas in power, we're going to be back here in 18 months. They're going to pull off another attack. And I would hope at some level the administration understands it's in the world's best interest for them to finish the job, even if there is a pause. I think it seems to be obvious, but I think people are too focused on the election. General Jack Keane, always great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great weekend, guys. Thank you.
All right. Meanwhile, coming up straight ahead over the weekend, Saturday night, 9 o'clock, One Nation. Among my great roster of guests, Scott Galloway, great new book, NYU professor. He'll talk about why you should follow not your passion, but your talent in your next career. Also, what's gone wrong at NYU. Speaker Mike Johnson will be with us. He's going to kick off the show. Tulsi Gabbard, brand new book. Kayleigh McEnany will break down that Time magazine story on what to expect if Trump wins re-election. Meanwhile, straight ahead, we are going back out to Churchill Downs, where Janice Dean is catching up with a horse trainer, hoping for a Derby win, and to Columbia, South Carolina at Lizard's Thicket, where
Former President Trump is due back at court in just a few hours. Meanwhile, yesterday, after a long day of court, Trump showing his support for the FDNY, and firefighters gave him, wow, just the warmest welcome.
Mark Meredith is live at the White House with more on that story and a lot of other related topics as well. Mark, good morning to you.
Guy, good morning to you. A lot of news to get to this morning. As you mentioned, former President Trump is due back in court roughly 2 hours from now. He's made it almost a tradition to stop and talk to the press as he goes in and out of the courtroom. And yesterday, as he was leaving, reporters asked him when he's going to announce his running mate for this November.
Who's your favorite right now?
My favorite for what?
Vice President.
Oh, who's my favorite for Vice President? Well, I'll be making that determination sometime prior to the convention.
After court, you could see the former president stopped at this firehouse. There was some applause as he was delivering some pizza, meeting with members of the FDNY. And you can see this was happening right after court yesterday. So-called Veep stakes are going to be in high gear this weekend, though, as Trump's campaign is getting ready for a fundraiser in Palm Beach. Among the men rumored to be on the short list, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott, and Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Vance told Fox just the other day that he has not had conversations with Trump about the VP role, and Trump told Fox back in January that he already knows who he's going to pick, but he's yet to give any specifics about who it's going to be. As for President Biden, he visited North Carolina, a battleground state, Thursday. Biden lost the Tar Heel state back in 2020, but the candidate says this time around it's his economic message which could turn the state blue.
This progress is part of my vision for an economy that grows from the middle out and the bottom up, not just the top down. I'm sick and tired of trickle-down economics.
There are still growing questions, though, about the president's political liability as we've seen those protests sweep college campuses across the country, whether or not this could hurt him with younger voters this November. But the president was asked yesterday whether or not it would change his stance on U.S. policy towards Israel, and he said no. Guys, back to you.
That's interesting.
All right,
he says that he's sick and tired of trickle-down economics. I think Americans are sick and tired of Bidenomics, and that's really his problem.
I think trickle-down economics is precisely what Hunter Biden and he were all about right there. That seems like exactly what that was about. All right, well, let's bring in Ainsley. She's live from Columbia, South Carolina. She's having breakfast, not with friends, with literally her own friends.
Her actual friends.
chúng ta sẽ chưng một thằng lên vào và cắt lên. sẽ sử dụng cái con dao này để làm phần cái tay cầm của cây kim. Mình sẽ tạo vòng tròn 3 thật với 8 mũi móc đơn. Tiếp theo từ hàng số 2 đến hàng số 7 chúng ta sẽ móc mỗi chân móc là một mũi móc đơn. Không thôi gì.